This is your body. And this is powerlifting. Dear God, help me! Welcome to Powerlifting for the over 50s. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a powerlifter, and as all powerlifters know, it's a labour of love. We certainly suffer for our art. Now, the kind of things I want to talk about today is powerlifting for the over 50s, hence the name of the video. But also, specifically, powerlifting for the over 50s who've got not the greatest genetics, not the greatest recovery, and not the greatest kind of muscle density as well. To explain a wee bit more about what I'm talking about and why I'm making this video and why I think it'll be useful to some people, we have to go all the way back to 1986 when I was speaking to a very famous sprinter and his coach. Now, this was the time I'd first heard the term genetics mentioned. And at that time, as a teenager, genetics to me was maybe some kind of an insect that got inside your genes. But I hadn't really realised how much genetics makes a difference. And this, I always remember what this coach said to me. He said, if you were a genetic freak, if you were supremely genetically gifted, what they call a mesomorph, someone who adapts very well to most forms of activity, and if you lived in a warm climate, and if your stress was managed to the effect that you didn't need to work because a sponsor paid for your bills, and you were single and didn't have a family, and you had a nutritionist making your meals, and you had a masseuse waiting for you every time you came off the track, and you had the best doctors in the world helping you with your recovery, your blood work and the rest of it. I remember him saying, with all those factors, even then, at most you would only progress 9 months of the year. The other 3 months would be recovery from injury, illness, fatigue, stress, other things like that. It's really made me think. And kind of when I looked into the genetic thing a wee bit more, this is when I wanted to initially be a bodybuilding champion, I realised that genetics plays a huge part. Now, we all know about, or most of us know, should I say, about the different body types. The mesomorph being the muscular body type that has good joints, good tendon elasticity, good thick muscle bellies, responds well to exercise. The endomorph tends to be physicalities that have, again, big joints, usually quite strong, quite broadly built, but usually predisposed to carrying body fat. Myself, I was an ectomorph. I was the other end of the scale, which means staying lean wasn't a problem, but building muscle, nigh on impossible. Building strength, nigh on impossible. Recovery, appalling. Tolerance for exercise, appalling. But the only thing that I can say about being an ectomorph is it was easy to stay lean. But that's a problem if you didn't want to be lean. I didn't want to be lean. So I found over the years, through trial and error and many, many mistakes, what simply does and does not work for my body type. And that's all I can relate it to. But the reason I'm making this video is there are lots of videos on the internet about powerlifting programs. I'll not mention any of them because I wouldn't want to put anyone's nose out of joint, but a lot of famous ones that are very good and produce, I'm sure, great results and are advocated for and by tremendous athletes. Again, that's the key word here, tremendous athletes. And usually the only reason they get to be at the level they're at, we're still in the genetics thing, right? The reason that they get to be is because they are genetically predisposed. The recovery is great. Their ability to tolerate stresses and recover from them is great. So whenever I tried any of these programs, my body would break down and quick. and it was like banging my head off a wall, and I just didn't understand it. And I also remember a very famous, again, I can't say who they are, coach once said to me that less is more. And it always stuck with me, less is more, less is more. So that I kind of took that forward when I was getting involved in any kind of exercise myself, is that if your body's not liking it, pull back. And I noticed that made a difference. And the ethos that I've kind of came up with is that if I overtrain even by 1%, I'll get no progress, zero, nicht, nil, nada, and sometimes I go back the way. But if I undertrain, I might not get the progress that I want or as quick as I want, but I'll still progress. So for my body type, my genetics, my physicality, it's been very much the case that if in doubt, undertrain. And that might be hard for a lot of people to hear. And if people have got great genetics and they can go ass to grass and train really hard and recover all the time, then great, good for you. I'm delighted for you, I'm jealous of you. I can't do that. And what I started to think was, what if there's a lot of other people out there like me that maybe haven't got the best genetics? And it's not a crime not to have the best genetics in the world, but if they love powerlifting and they want to do it, surely they should be allowed to. There should be a way that they can do it without getting disheartened or destroyed. Now, I'm not, and never have been and never will be, the greatest powerlifter ever. I've done okay, I've won some competitions, but I've probably went a lot further than is probably expected with the genetics that I have. And I'm really proud of that. At my very best, I'm probably an average divisional level powerlifter. But this is against somebody who is so not designed for it. So the things that I've learned about training per se, and again, it's different for everyone, but for me, recovery is so important. Recovery is so important. So what I do is, I found that, I know a guy who can squat heavy 3 times a week, and he's not joking. He's an elite level powerlifter, and he can recover from it and progress from it, and that's great. I can squat heavy once a week maximum. When I'm saying maximum, if my body tells me in any way, red flag, whoa, I back off, and I do heavy once every other week. It's not linear, my training. My training is very much a case of listening to my body, and there's so many ascending and descending factors that affect my body. I'm a wee bit lactose intolerant, which means if I eat a couple of the wrong things, I get more inflammation. It affects my recovery. I find that if I get colds or stuff like that, I get inflammation. It kind of hits me harder, so I need to circumvent, work around that. So my training life is very much a kind of a tippy-toe process, but it doesn't mean that you can't progress. It doesn't mean you can't do the sport. You can. You just have to be smarter. Now, obviously, when I was younger, I could do better. Then, obviously, I hit my 30s, then my 40s, and now my 50s. I'm 51. I've recently recovered from coronavirus. I've had many injuries, but I've also learnt a lot. So, believe it or not, my best ever lifting, the strongest I've ever been in my life, was 2018 when I was 48. And had I not been injured in December of last year, I'm pretty sure I would have been on my way to kind of replicating that again. And that's my hope for the next year, 18 months, to get back the best I've ever been at 51, 52 years old. And that's not bad, eh? You can progress, but you have to do things different sometimes. And I've had to learn that. So what I do is I'll squat once a week. I do that on a Thursday. I'll deadlift on a Sunday. And on a Tuesday, I'll bench press. Again, I'll work within my body's abilities. I'm allowed to My body is currently allowing me to deadlift 3 sets of 5 repetitions. It's allowing me to squat 1 set of 5 repetitions, and bench press I do 3 sets of 5. Now, if my body's telling me I'm not liking this, I'll back off. I'll do 1 set of deadlift and 1 set of bench press. If I'm feeling good, then I'll stick to the program of doing 3 sets of deadlift and 3 sets of bench press. The one thing that never changes, I can never do more than 1 or 2 sets of squats. I can do it at the time, it's fine at the time, it doesn't bother me at the time. It's the effect that it has, it's the impact. And for me, it's not just a case of legs. If that's all it was, dear God, it's my whole central nervous system. My glands go up, I ache, I run down. And a lot of people might say, oh, maybe that's because you've got long COVID since you had the coronavirus. Yeah, obviously that aging and stuff like that does impact, but if I'm being honest, it's pretty much always been that way. Even since I was 16 years old, when I first started training, it'd always been a bit of an issue. And for me, less is definitely more. So what worked for me was doing workouts of no more than an hour, warming up very thoroughly and very slowly. I do mobility exercises, but believe it or not, I don't do much stretching, and when I do it at the end of a workout. I've noticed when I stretch too much, and I'm not talking an excessive amount, but just when I do too much, my joints, my muscles flare up and react, and again, my whole system's run down. I find that if I do my movements through a fluid, full range of motion, which we really should be doing anyway, let's be honest, then that promotes its own mobility and flexibility through the plane of movements that are required. And also on top of that, I sometimes feel myself when I do too much flexibility, it destabilises my puny body, because that's the one thing about ectomorphs. We're not kind of rigid, we're easily destabilised. We've usually got quite loose joints. So for me, my exercises are my mobility. Another thing that's very important is listening to my body. Yes, I squat once a week, I deadlift once a week, I bench once a week, and I walk every day as well in between. However, if my body lets me, if my body tells me, whoa, then I cut it right back. An example is if I've got a cold, if I'm run down, I listen to my body. What I don't actually do is listen to my head. There's plenty of times, we've all done it, we go into the gym and we say, I don't think I'm up to it today, I don't think I can. That's different. That never stops me. You don't really know till you warm up, but if my body tells me it's not on today, I'll still do some form of exercise, but I'll tailor it accordingly. Another thing that's really important for me is I've got to kind of make it cyclical. And generally what I try to do is do 4 weeks of 5 reps, putting the weight up 2.5 kilos every week. Then I'll have a week off where I peg it right back and I'll squat just the bar or up to 40 kilos. I'll deadlift no more than 40 kilos. I'll bench 40 kilos and I just do high reps, just working on technique and letting the joints, the central nervous system, or my puny central nervous system, calm itself down. And I find that that's like a long jumper taking a step back before they take a leap forward. It just allows my body to kind of reset. So I do 4 weeks, have a kind of easy week, and then another 4 weeks. And make no mistake, that doesn't mean that I don't occasionally get ill or injured or what have you, but I certainly get injured a lot less. And I very rarely get injured. Because the way I do things, my conditioning's usually that good. When I get injured, I recover quite quickly. I tore my quad about 8 weeks ago. I'm squatting 80 kilos again. Could do a lot more, but I'm doing it quite comfortably, and I'm really quite proud of that. And I put that down to the conditioning that I've always done. So my muscles are in good shape and they recover quickly. But I think for ectomorphs and for people over 50, you need to be very, very, very mindful of recovery. So if in doubt, my advice to everyone out there is undertrain. Because if you undertrain, you will still progress. If you overtrain even slightly, you'll get nada. Also listen to your central nervous system. Although the books might say, you can recover this long, it takes that long for the muscles to hypertrophy. Everyone is different. Listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you. And if that means you take an extra day, you take an extra day. If that means you take an extra 2 days, you take an extra 2 days. But for me, and I think it's probably the same for most people that are maybe hard gainers, as they call us, people that have not got the best genetics. And it has to be said, I'm a competing drug-free powerlifting, so that's another thing too. So obviously recovery is different as well. So sometimes when you're looking at superstars of the sport, it's hard to kind of gauge how you should train compared to how they should train. So you need to factor a lot of these things in. But if you find that you're making progress doing what you're doing, don't stop. Good luck. Well done. But if you find that you keep hitting your head off a brick wall, you're not really getting anywhere, your body keeps breaking down, powerlifting's making you miserable because you're feeling run down all the time, you feel that you're getting injured all the time, you're getting ill all the time, you're not really seeing the numbers go up, then try the less is more thing. It works for me and hopefully it worked for you. So that's it, guys. I hope that's been of use to you. Feel free to message me and ask any questions. I'm happy to help. Please, if you could, hit the like button. Click subscribe if you want to know more when more videos come in. And also, remember to hit the bell, the wee notification bell. That will allow you to get more videos as they come. So thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.